So, welcome everybody, and today we're going to discuss a very practical issue, but a significant financial issue as well, in line with our general line of inquiry here at the planning stage. We're going to talk about the HVAC system, particularly the control system for the HVAC system at the nursing home. Who's got the phone? Oh, I have the thing.
I don't trust this catching.
Everything you throw first to the right. Thank you. So what is the issue? Well, we all know CNRC is a large standard for all kinds of buildings, and that adequately regulating the temperature of the facility is really important for patient care and comfort. And there's also lots of regulations and things that we have to comply with in that regard that are all, again, mostly aimed at maintaining the health and safety and comfort of the people who we have there. Something as vast as this, it's not like at home you just go and change the thermostat. It's a pretty complicated thing. John's going to go into that at greater length. And of course, such systems, to control them, are pretty costly. So, I'm going to turn this over to Dave from here, who's going to talk about our experience with the Department of Health on this issue and the risks that may pose to the county.
Okay, so the regulatory requirements regarding environment come from the federal regulations that we are governed by. And it comes under F-257, which is comfortable and safe temperature levels. The regulation itself reads the facility must provide comfortable and safe temperature levels and must maintain a temperature range of 71 to 81 degrees. So it's very specific of the actual numbers.
Throughout the complex.
Throughout, exactly.
Okay. At any spot.
At any spot.
Okay.
We'll get to that.
Oh, all right.
You're absolutely right. At any given area that is a resident area, which is pretty much
Okay.
that facility.
And that'd be fair.
That would be Fahrenheit. That would be correct. More detailed guidance to surveyors for that regulation defines comfortable and safe temperature levels to mean that the ambient temperature should be in a relatively narrow range, that 10-degree range, that minimizes the resident's susceptibility to loss of body heat, risk of hypothermia, or susceptibility to respiratory illness and colds. And to your point, Commissioner Cross, the next bullet measures the air temperature above floor level in resident rooms, dining areas, and common areas. So pretty much any area that a resident would be in needs to be in that temperature range for the whole facility. And in our December annual survey that was completed on December 12th, we were cited for F-257 temperature levels. And the citation reads, based on observation, resident and staff interviews, it was determined that the facility failed to provide a comfortable temperature level for one of 6 units, which was the C wing.
So it was too cold.
It was too cold, and those temperature ranges went from 58.1 degrees, 62 degrees, 64 degrees, 65 degrees, 67 degrees were the various temperatures that they took throughout the week of the survey that they documented were below. In addition to that, the residents did verbally complain to the surveyors that the rooms, the shower rooms or other areas were cold. So it was a combination of their data plus the comments from the residents themselves that.
Are these different temperatures for different places or the
This
same
was
place?
all C-wing. This was C-wing on different
So they
dates.
measured it, and these are comparative numbers basically for virtually the same space?
Same space. One was a resident room. In the morning, it's 58.1 degrees. The connecting corridor was 62.9. Very specific as far as where they were, what time of day it was,
So it shows a consistent.
and what day. Right. It wasn't just a one-time thing. They actually documented it over a period of several days with the actual temperatures that they read, and that's cited in the deficiency itself.
So one of 6, are they individually controlled? In other words, the temperature level for one of 6 units, are all 6 units individually temperature controlled, or is there a temperature control for the whole building?
There's a temperature control on the EMS system for the whole building. And when it goes down, it affects all the units, not just one. And in plain words, I can explain it a little later, but in plain words, what happens is you can call it running backwards and call it running opposite of what it should. And it's calling for heat, they get cold, and it's calling for cold, it gets heat. And that's because of the current system we have down there.
But does it cycle up and reach a temperature, stays, cycles down, and then cycles back up again? I have radiators at home.
When-
Sometimes they're on, sometimes they're off. So the temperature's set at, let's say, arguably 70 degrees. So when it hits 70, if it's not at 70, cycles on to when it reaches 70.
Mhm.
But then that crest ultimately starts kind of falling. Then it kind of cycles back on to maintain that. Are all the units the same, or could this one unit be wrong, be bad?
No.
No.
It's a computerized software system. So if the computerized system goes down, they all go down.
Okay.
It affects the entire unit, the entire area.
So they're, I guess the most simple thing, they're not zoned.
They are and they aren't. But most of the problems exist when the generator comes on or when there's a power surge. Almost every time that happens, we have a situation occur where temperatures go out of whack. And the only way to fix that is with the old system. And it's a manual, well, it's kind of manual where you have to take a laptop. It's an MS-DOS system. And the MS-DOS system, as all know, is antiquated. And if that software system crashes and we don't have the capability to change the computerized settings, we cannot change the temperature controls. So the foundation was laid in 2005 for Siemens Apogee system. The foundation was installed at the nursing home to eventually switch over to a more automated and technological system. And the Barbara Coleman system was installed in the year 2000 as part of that construction project. And like I said before, it is an MS-DOS software system, which is very, very old. I don't know if too many people would use that system anymore. But
If you want to play Pong,
if that fails, we could get into a situation where we have to relocate residents because we cannot change the controls back in a quick time period. The Siemens system was installed in 2005, and that was the foundation for the new software controls. That's a countywide system right now. We use it at the prison, we use it at the other county buildings, we use it at the courthouse, and it also enables us to remotely control that situation. If on a weekend something happens, we can remotely log in and change temperature settings with that particular Siemens system that we have now. Not at the nursing home, but that would be something we'd be able to do in the future if this is approved. We cannot do that with the Barbara Coleman system, so we have to be on site to change those settings. One of the reasons why this system is having problems is the two systems will not communicate. And we've already made attempts to try and get them to communicate and marry the two systems together. They kind of don't like each other. And so when that happens, we end up in a lot of domestic disputes, if you would have it, with the Siemens and the Barbara Coleman system. And they fight one another constantly. And we have contacted Siemens, and Gene Tucci's here from Siemens also in the back here. And he's one of the people I've been working with for over a year, Brad and I both, and Nathan, who's our HVAC tech. And he could also elaborate on some of the stuff that we're discussing today if you have any questions for him. But in a nutshell, it's a very antiquated system. Not only is the software antiquated, we cannot get parts, and we have to use leftovers, or we have to use what we have laying around to try and fix the system if something goes wrong. So we're running into a lot of different situations, and the situations are occurring more frequently than they were 3 years ago or 2 years ago. And as Dave stated, it is a requirement in the nursing home to keep this between a certain temperature. If it falls below or goes above, we have to keep it in the range.
I wonder, Dave, if I could just, before we, John's got more stuff on this, but just to quickly go back. If this problem were to persist, and we would be found deficient, a second time, what would be your consequences?
Well, we're in our revisit window right now, which we talked about yesterday at the meeting. So if, for a revisit for annual survey, if they come back and look at all the deficiencies for correction, if we were recited for this, it could be at a higher scope and severity level. Right now, it's a D level, which is a relatively low scope and severity, because it's only one unit, so it's in the isolated column. But if they were to find it again, or find it in more areas, it would be recited for sure, and the scope and severity could increase, which means they would have to come back a third time for a revisit. And each one of those revisits is actually part of the calculation for the 5-star CMS rating as well, the number of surveys you have. So the goal, of course, is to be back in compliance with the first revisit, which is mandatory. After that, and the subsequent ones for compliance is counted in the calculation for the CMS 5-star.
Okay, and John, in terms of pick any day that they might come back, what you're saying is that the system has enough problems that it's at least some kind of a risk involved that they would find those same kind of issues.
There's a possibility if they come back, depending on what day, if that day we're having a problem with the controls and the generator kicks on for some reason, or we have a power outage or a blip in the power even for 2 seconds, we could have the same situation while they're here. And they would see what we have to go through to change that and get that back up and running. So there should be the correct temperature.
So this wasn't a fluke.
No, it's been going on for several years. I've worked with Gene for probably 2 years on this, and I had been in discussion with Siemens and Constellation in 2005 about the situation. At that time, the system, our Coleman system, was not that old, but we decided to lay the Siemens Apogee system and not spend the extra money to put in the complete system, but lay the foundation, but also install that system countywide, and we've been using that for almost every building with the control system. The prison is completely controlled by Siemens. They have almost everything under the controls under Siemens, so they can tell each and everything. And it's a pretty intense and good program because you can see all of your equipment on the computer. You can see set points, you can see all of your temperature controls, and we have temp sensors all over the place, where every day when my HVAC tech is in, he checks all the temperatures and all the buildings. We know a problem before you even get out of bed sometimes, because, and we have it fixed before you get there. That's the positive situation with a remote control, and also countywide we can see the temperature controls.
So that's what you want to put in place. That's what this remedial action would do, is extend that into the nursing as well. A couple of questions for you. You mentioned this has gone on for years. Were we aware of this being a problem, and have we ever been cited for it in the past?
I don't know if we've been cited in the past for it. I'd have to check with Brad on if and how many times. I do not know of any times we were cited because he updates me on all those citations. And I do not know of any except for this last time. That was partly blamed for the system. The problem is, if that MS-DOS system crashes, we will have a serious problem. I can last,
have we received, do we have on record any resident complaints regarding cold other than just periodic? Are we aware of, and I know you're just stepping in here.
No, there's been some resident council meeting minutes where residents have made comments, but they've been rectified fairly, quickly,
Okay.
if it was a, short period of
So it's
time.
pretty much the standard,
Yeah,
somebody's, but it's
somebody's-
not, there hasn't been a pattern of Sea-Wing having this under.
No, not that I'm aware of. It was recent, and I just looked at the actual deficiency statement, because it does say at the bottom whether it's a repeat deficiency, and this does not indicate that it was a repeat deficiency.
Okay.
They go back several years and let you know when it was cited previously,
So
and I
it's
don't
not
see any
cited.
indication on that.
So this is the first time.
The write-up was recent, but the occurrences, we have a work order system just like we do in the county. And if somebody notices temperature's off, they put the work request in, order, Brad, we have our 24/7 down there. If our guys notice something, they'll contact my HVAC guys, and we'll come in, we know we have to fix it.
So you've been working on it in a piecemeal manner, essentially over time. This is the first it's become a compliance issue, is that correct? Okay. Now, the fact that you referenced the fact that in '05, the foundation was laid for an eventual migration over
Right.
to seeing the system similar to what you have elsewhere. That sort of implies to me that there was somewhere in your capital improvements plan, there was an anticipated move toward this upgrade or updating. Am I making too big an assumption in that? or-
There was an eventual anticipated move, we just didn't know how far out it was,
Okay.
because we had an existing EMS system there, which was the Barber Coleman. If we wouldn't have had that system there, we would have installed the seating system at that time, but it would have increased the price up to the wrong time.
Yeah, I heard that the first time. So, but my point is, so this was sort of anticipated, but not anticipated enough that it was actually built into your capital improvements plan for, say, the year 2017 or 2019, or not that level specificity.
I think it is built into the nursing home budget, but I'll have to double check that.
Okay.
But that's a good question, but I'm pretty sure it was built in, but I'm
I'm trying to determine the level at which this caught us unawares, or is it just the fact that it's a compliance issue and we do
Well, we can go back to the minutes, of
compliance?
the Claremont for '05 and see when,
Well,
this discussion started.
Well, we can discuss it, but as far as the catching us unaware, it didn't catch us unaware. And like I said, I've been working with 2 years with Siemens. They had to come in and do a complete walk around, and do a complete building wiring check and everything. And we've been looking at this for the last 2 years on what we might need to do to upgrade this if it becomes more of a problem. And we thought it was time to get an estimate, because I had no estimate before, so I had no idea how much it would cost to do this. I didn't know if it was 50,000, 100,000, or 400,000. So we just received a quote in October from Siemens, and I asked them to update the quote in December, which he did. And that's how I know now what the cost
And that
is.
was, so that was prior to our becoming aware it's a compliance issue, therefore a more time urgent issue. But,
Well, that was prior to that, I thought for sure.
Okay.
That-
all right, so you basically already had this process underway.
Yes.
Now we come to the understanding that we have to accelerate our migration system.
Well, as far as accelerating it, we have the quote right now, it's good for
Yeah.
30, it's good for 90 days. If you have a choice, depending on when it's coming before you, on whether to move ahead with it, or whether to let it continue the way it is, and we continue to manually go around with the MS system and fix it. Now,
Still
how
gives
long
us a
that will
compliance
last?
problem and a potential booming
Yes.
crisis.
And no matter what you do, whether that eventually ends up an office building or what, those controls need changed, because that's a definite problem with our mechanical system. And it will take down temperature controls, no matter if it's a nursing home, office building, what it is, it doesn't get taken care of. When it's gonna come down, could it last 5 more years? Yeah, it could.
Yeah, well, it becomes a risk calculation for
You're
us.
increasing rate of failure, and a lot of this stuff, issues may have been averted by manual workarounds that you guys do when the system fails. The problem is that if you only have to do those once in a while,
Sure.
not a big deal, but if you're doing it with more frequency. What are the circumstances under which your generator goes, has to come up? And you just said, and how frequently?
What are the circumstances? What?
The generator has to be put up, because you said
The
that's
generator.
generally what
the generator, we're in a demand response program. It's a mandatory program from May to September. We receive revenue, if you can click that, Larry, to the demand response. That's the estimate, so next one. Yeah, that's the demand response. That's the revenue we receive on a yearly basis from each location where we have generators enrolled. Now, last year in January, when we had the cold snap, we started noticing there were some volunteer events for the first time ever. We had prison, 911, and nursing home volunteering to run the generators because we generate revenue every time we do that. And we get paid by PJM and Constellation to be in the program. We do not have to do it other than the months of between May and September. But the voluntary events brought a lot of extra income in, and the nursing home had to stop running the generators because every time they did, those temperature controls would run backwards. So this demand response program is a revenue source for the county, and this year, from May to September, we had no events whatsoever. But they do require you to run your generator one time, about an hour or two. And we get paid a few $1,000s to each location just for running it. So if we can't run the generators, then we'll be a penalty on the demand response side, and also we'll lose revenue by not being able to volunteer for any events. So I just wanted to show you the money and revenue is coming in at different locations from the demand response program. The generators are one of the situations that puts a kink into the system, and that's why we're having problems. But also, we noticed that we've been troubleshooting, trying to pinpoint what's causing it to see if we can fix it. There's too many reasons, and there's too many situations, electric outage, generators. If it's a real cold snap, it could throw the system out of whack. So we haven't been able to pinpoint anybody to repair the system because it is obsolete.
John, just so you're clear, and my line of questioning is not meant as an indictment in any way. You've done an exceptional job of putting together a capital improvements plan so we can anticipate things. But this is a lesson that things do drop out of the sky sometimes. So my questioning is aimed at the question of are there any. Our direction on this seems pretty clear to me, what we have to do, because we've got the compliance issue. My question is, are there any other time bombs out there that could go forward? I mean, we're in a good we appear to be in a good position to address this one. But is there anything else out there that could hit us?
As far as the time bomb, the nursing home has a separate budget other than mine. Okay?
Sure.
I will double check and see if this was already on the radar as far as projected costs. Okay? I'm not sure about that, to be honest with you, because I don't have that one memorized. My budget, I can tell you everything in my budget, but the nursing home, I do submit that they put it together down there.
Okay.
And I'll double check that. Number two, if it wasn't on the radar, I don't know of anything right now that's a time bomb down at the nursing home, except for things we've already discussed as far as the tower building and all the feasibility studies being antiquated also with wiring, piping, and we're replacing that as we go. If cast iron piping rusts and we get leaks, we got to replace it. So if wiring needs replaced, we have to do that. Those situations, we've been fixing them as we go. I don't see a need to completely rewire the whole building or repipe the whole building in the near future. But we did consider that when we were going to renovate the whole tower and go all the way down. And if we did decide to do that, we had to, because it was a nursing home, to renovate everything. But other than that, I don't see any time bomb.
The roof's not gonna fall?
No, I had a new roof put in a few years ago, so the roof's fine.
I think we all understand there's certain things we can anticipate, there's always going to be those things we can't knowing.
And this is something where we just feel the need to bring to your attention in case it would crash in case it would be a problem. Again, it could last for 5 more years, maybe 10, I don't know. And, but then again, we needed to do our due diligence, work with Siemens, get a cost proposal, submit it to you, and tell you the reasons why, and then see whether we want to move ahead, or whether we want to delay, or what we want to do with this particular situation. When we get to Dana's part, she'll show you some of the funding situations, and if you switch back to that last, these are the projected energy savings by doing this. If we install this, we're looking at $31,656 per year annual savings, and that's what will be estimated with the amount of savings. And if you take that over a certain period, which Dana will discuss more tonight, you'll see that there is a payback in it. It's not like lighting where you get a payback in 1 to 2 years. Mechanicals is more of a longer payback, but there is a payback.
Thanks, Coach.
Yeah, don't go ahead. My section, and can we help the nursing home people? The current fund balance is $3.4 million, and over the past 2 years, it grew from $390,014 and $266,000 in 2013. So if we make the purchase of the equipment from fund balance, it's about $3 million. And the numbers that I'm giving you do not include the reserve fund balance for the trust. This is solely available for nursing home, excluding that. So what I did was I kind of took the savings over the next 10 years, the $31,700 that John showed, and I also took the annual demand response payments, and I divided it by 2.5 because 2014-15 isn't a full year, and we haven't been utilizing it as much, so I stayed pretty conservative. And under that scenario, the $391,000 in savings over 10 years is about a 10-year payback period. You know, the cost at the end of it would be about $9,000. And that's pretty conservative. I believe that it would pay itself back in 10 years. John and I talked, he believes the system has at least a 15-year life with the software upgrades that will be needed, but a 15-year life, so it will pay for itself in 10 years.
And so that $400,000, is that cost of that equipment coming in the door today, and then the projected yearly maintenance on that to include those software upgrades would be what?
It's currently in your contract right now, John.
Hmm?
It's currently in your contract right now.
Well, the service contract, the PM
Right.
contract.
With an
We have
escalator
separate.
each, you know,
It's a 3-year, I think.
3-year
We have a
contract.
3-year PM contract, countywide, with Siemens right now.
okay.
For all the software upgrades, and we chose to skip a year and not do an annual software upgrade, and we do one biannually now. Now, at the end of 3 years, we'll renegotiate, and we'll have to look at, obviously, another contract for the PM, preventive maintenance for the whole system countywide. But this would be included in that system.
So is this going to, is adding, going to completely Siemens, is that going to increase the cost of the maintenance, annual maintenance? Is it going to be roughly the same?
No, there'll be a savings with the maintenance because we won't have to do as many adjustments. We won't have to go manually to each location and adjust it.
Are you paying the maintenance for the glass system? What's it called? Yeah,
You know what the annual cost is on,
The MS-DOS system,
part of the call.
I don't think there is one. I think, see, there's no software upgrades.
is there a maintenance agreement?
There's really not, the company went out of business and was bought by they've been bought 3 times. So we use the system they gave us to upgrade the water phone system.
Do any of our other buildings charge back and pay, like human services?
Not for the nursing home system, but they would.
But they would
theirs.
they would for the full fund.
Yes,
But they would be still pulled out separately, and only those charges, even though the maintenance would be for the countywide, right?
Right. Going back to Gary's question also. We worked with Siemens a few years back on trying to fix this communication problem between the two systems, so we could have two systems. We spent a couple $1,000s trying to do that, and it worked for some time. So we've been working on this for quite a number of years to try and do a low-cost fix situation. And it's coming to a situation where it's just not working the way it should.
Look, the foundation was laid in '05, it's 10 years later. Really? 10 years? I know.
So did I understand, I was listening to Dana's explanation, but the demand response payments, are those assured, or those depend on events?
Those are assured.
They are assured. So
Certain
that's
amounts
basically, you
of-
can calculate that into that.
So they're assured to an extent on the mandatory events. The voluntary events, whether we participate or not, that's when we get paid. So, and I don't know if there's going to be any voluntary this year or not. Last year was the first year since we've been enrolled in the program where there was voluntary events because of the severe cold.
Would that, Dana, would that factor into your calculation at all? It's not a fixed amount, okay?
It's not a fixed amount, but I used a low $7,400, so
So
it is
That's
it's
factored.
taken into account.
That's the mandatory.
That should be the
Maybe it's
mandatory.
only different than mandatory.
And we're paid by quarter for that program, and that was the annual income that we get from them. It's a really, really good benefit to the county. It's a revenue source.
John, can you just, for everybody's benefit, describe when a resident, complains about temperatures too cold or too high right now, essentially then we have to manually apparently address the situation. And how quickly is that addressed once?
How quickly is it addressed? It's addressed ASAP because we know we have to keep those temperature controls in a certain range for a certain amount. We can't let them go below for too long because then it can be a problem in the situation. There's a work order system. If we get a work order, we look at it right away. My HVAC tech and some of my other people, they work a flex schedule where they come in at 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. and they already know before going wherever they're going to go, where we're having problems. And then I get an update every single day from like Nathan, CNRC, rooftop unit, and alarm. And that's another thing that the Siemens system will do. It'll send out alarms telling you where the location is, what the problem is. You need to go and take a look at it. And we jump on those right away. Actually, whether it's a nursing home or not, we jump on every one as soon as possible.
So, I mean, it is addressed right away. If there's a problem with the comfort level. And that's what I think is important to point out.
Nursing home would take.
This would make it, an automatic, that's what we're talking about, automatic adjustment so that we stay within that range of 71 to 81 degrees.
You could be at home on a weekend and make the adjustment with the remote system that we have. And we did set up a system with that last write-up where 3 times a day, Nathan and Brad were getting any indications on temperature controls if they fluctuated out of the system. So we have the ability to do that with the Siemens system, but we don't have that with the Barber system.
Just to clarify, but it's not a completely autonomous system. It basically notifies you or people they have to intervene in the system, so it's not truly automatic.
Right, and they want to automatically correct itself. We have to really do something else. And if we can't fix it, part of the contract that we have with Siemens, we'll call them, they might be able to do it over the phone. If we can't do it over the phone, then they'll immediately send someone to fix the problem. Nursing home would take top priority, prison would be in there, 911. Those would be the 3 top priority buildings. The courthouse and other buildings like that, we look at as we have the list. We'll put the courthouse in fourth.
Yeah, I'm just to go back to the quotation from the survey. It said here, based on observation, resident staff and reviews was determined that the facility failed to provide a comfortable temperature level for one of 6 units C1. My assumption is that that was immediately, reported and corrected. Or that we took action.
Yeah.
Took action to correct that problem.
Yeah, there were 2 reasons why that happened, and we know exactly what they were, and we went in and changed them. And it takes some time sometimes to do that, but we were on that pretty quick. And anytime there's a situation like that, at the nursing home, we will take care of ASAP.
John, just so I'm clear on that, so the fact that you were cited for it doesn't mean you were unaware of it. You were aware of it, and working on it is just the amount of time that it takes to address it.
When the temperature controls go below what they should be, we are aware of it.
You were aware of it, okay.
If there was a situation where temperatures were fluctuating, like they go below for a minute or two and then go back up or something like that, we may not be aware of it. But once we're cited, there's a plan of action, plan of correction.
But this was monitored over the course of days, if I understood that
Yes,
correctly.
yes,
So
it was.
the amount of time needed to take corrective action appears to be substantial.
We fixed the problem, but then we monitored it
Yeah.
daily to make sure the problem, everything we did
So
corrected
did
the
that,
problem.
apparently. So-
Yeah, well, they did, but
Yeah.
if you notice, the temperatures were down low, and then they started to go up into the 60s range,
Alright.
but they still were below the threshold. So it's just like anything else,
Yeah.
once you fix the problem, John sends me down to shovel coal into the furnace, right? And I work hard to get as much coal
I
in.
know it takes you days to do that.
Well,
too,
it's
so-
not there, it would take you a month, it would take a couple of hours, but that's different. But it takes a while for the facility to
Yeah.
continue.
So to warm up, so it's notching up a degree or 2 per day, which is what this,
Yeah, these were, it was a 5-day survey, it was Monday through Friday, and this was the beginning part of the survey. I just looked at the dates, the 8th and the 9th, and the survey ended on the 12th. So it was identified at the beginning of the survey, it was corrected.
it's just a long time to wait to get warm. It's what
Yeah,
it's-
it is.
When we troubleshoot it, we don't just walk away from it, we do monitor it to make sure that we do what we did, correct the problem. And,
I'm just trying to get a grasp on how long it takes for that corrective action to take hold and be noticeable. So it's obviously a substantial problem.
This allows for a lot more precise monitoring,
Yeah.
management, and you can get in there and know the problem and fix it before the temperature gets so low that you can sort of cut down on time to rectify it. Any other questions or comments from folks?
Well, I recommend we maintain, if we move forward with the project, that we use the fund balance to pay for the project. That's the best use of one-time monies as capital projects.
Right, and it's clear this is not any money from the general fund,
Correct.
this is strictly from.
And
No.
one other thing, I've been in conversation with Siemens over the past 2 weeks, and this is GSA pricing, and they were able to adjust it. And Gene and I met yesterday, and the pricing did come down about $4,000. When you're talking about 400,000 people staff, that's not a whole lot, but every little bit counts. So I do have a new proposal from Gene who sent to me today, and we would go with alternate 1, but we would not go with alternate 2. There are 2 alternates in there, and the 1 alternate generates a cost savings on energy, and we would go with the alternate which brings it to $398, $63.38 with the discounted pricing that he just sent me this morning. So I'll send that to Dana and Larry, and I'll send him the new quote as of today. And
One other point is that, this serves as a good illustration of why you can't draw your contingencies down to next to nothing. So my question, Dana, is, are you reasonably comfortable with the financial standing of that account in going this route? in terms
Yes.
of Future contingencies.
At the end of 15, understanding there'll be a ramp up of the rehab, the budgeted fund balance after this will be about $2.7 million. Once the rehab is up and running and the beds are built, I think we're estimating a total of 18 additional beds over 2 years, getting Medicare beds, they should be at least break even and running a profit. So there should be enough fund balance remaining to sustain the facility ongoing.
the current rehab facility has the controls already installed as part of the contract. So the rehab is all taken care of as far as Siemens Apogee. And this should simply be taking the only building pretty much that we do not have under Siemens control under the Apogee system and incorporating it into the county Apogee system.
Since this, let me just ask a question, since this is a capital expenditure that essentially is going to be used and useful for many years, we're looking at least 10, 15 years. Utilizing the fund balance, you would suggest that we would pay this back over a number of years as opposed to, something.
If we were doing a bond issue anyway, I may recommend adding it, but the cost of borrowing and the cost of a bank note is relatively high in comparison to what we did on the bond. So I wouldn't recommend borrowing for this, having the fund balance and everything.
And if I'm reading this correctly, and I think it's worth noting, is that since the fund balance increased in both 2013 and 2014, I take that to mean that the nursing home operated in the black in 2013 and 2014.
Yes, sir.
If we're adding money to the fund balance.
Yes.
And that doesn't include the contribution that was made by the lady that passed away because of the excellent facility we have. Left us a sizable portion of our estate to our nursing home. Just so we can put this into perspective again, our goal should be to make sure that we have comfortable temperatures for all of the residents in our nursing home throughout the facility. 365 days a year, 24/7, without respect to what regulations say. I think it's important to address this, but how many residents were actually affected by this?
I think they interviewed,
I mean, to what extent percentage of the nursing home was this problem? And you say 1 unit out of 6 in the C-wing.
C-wing. I guarantee you, not everyone sitting in this room is going to tell you that the temperature is comfortable right
Yeah.
here.
they identified the
So that was
residents
the question I was going to have.
by number, and it looks like 2 residents in particular stated, they mentioned to the surveyors that their rooms or the shower rooms were cold during the resident interview. These were oriented residents. And then subsequent to that, the surveyor would go and either verify that or not. And when they went to verify that with their own data, it was obviously substantiated when they started taking the pictures themselves at various places. So it was triggered by, by resident concern that it was something that they had experienced over the past and were experiencing currently, and then the surveyors act on that.
I can only assume that if this was a widespread and regular occurrence, that we would have heard about it and/or somebody would have brought us to our attention. This is a problem with not having comfortable temperatures in the nursing home. I'm certainly not there all the time or anything, but every time I've gone in there, I've never noticed it being too cold or too hot. But in any event, I'm not resident there.
Sometimes they sort of
That's my question, and I think it's important to put this in perspective, is that, and I think we're moving forward, I think we need to move forward quickly to address the problem, to ensure, comfort levels throughout the facility year-round. But to the extent of the problem is what I'm trying to identify here.
All right, in the process of this, if this is GSA, this contract would be brought before the board, as it would routinely be, I'm sort of looking at the chief clerk here, would be for a workshop, correct? Okay. Presented, period of time to ask additional questions or whatever. That following next Monday would be that opportunity to vote to support the contract or not, correct?
Yes?
Okay. If in that time and that window, the Department of Health walks in here and so cites us again, is there any relief, any conversation that this has fully been presented, there has been no decision made by the board on this, or do they simply cite us again and we are left with the mercy of the Department of Health?
It could certainly mitigate it as far as, showing that there's action. Like anything, if there's a problem identified, and we're working through it in our quality assurance process, and we've already self-identified, we're in the process of correcting it, we're not there yet. That does go, a long way. It does have an impact on the surveyor saying, you're already on top of it, you're not there yet. And that really plays into scope and severity. They might still cite it, but they might cite it.
Well, when you're reading, hypothermia and, sort of the, what are the words? Minimize resident susceptibility to loss of body heat and risk of hypothermia and susceptibility to respiratory ailment. I do not believe anyone sitting in Cumberland is suffering from hypothermia like today. So, but I also then would like it at least presented that this has come before the Board of Commissioners, and that in our course, in our process of workshops and voting, this is not going to happen today.
And we would have a documentation of this discussion and PowerPoint, everything to show for us.
So in other words, they might cut us a break, but they also might not.
Well, ultimately, look, we can put it at $6 million system, the temperature still is below, they're going to say, so this is a reasonable process to take to rectify, do corrective action. So they would have to take that.
I'm just saying, there's no guarantee, we're still vulnerable.
It's the government.
Depends on which inspector you get. Exactly.
I was thinking as I was saying what I was saying, but it's not the surveyor.
Mr. Cross just mentioned that she had to get in on a County Commissioners Association Pennsylvania conference call, I believe, so.
Yeah.
she had to step away. Let me just ask, so, I think we're having this meeting, it's brought to our attention. I haven't heard anybody suggest that we shouldn't move forward with this as quickly as possible, so.
Well, this is for informational purposes,
I
to show
understand.
the options, and it has to be brought to the workshop and voted on.
Okay. How quickly can we move forward in getting this new system installed? What kind of a time frame are we talking about?
We actually have a time frame laid out in the overall proposal. And once we sign contracts with Siemens, I'm pretty sure we can start within a few days after that.
Yeah, if we start doing the engineering and the design work behind the scenes, you may not see anybody on site right away, but there's a lot of work that goes behind the scenes, design and the engineering for a project such as this.
Just so I'm clear, there's no legal means for us to fast track this in any way prior to a signed contract being arrived at. Is that correct?
You could give me a letter of intent today, that would be fine. If that's what you're asking.
I don't know if we can even agree to that legally. We might be able to one-on-one. We need the guidance of the solicitor.
Well, I think Commissioner Eichelberger makes a good point. I mean, maybe Larry could look into this to see how we might be able to expedite action on this. Because I think it is something that it needs to be addressed.
Under GSA contract, we may be able to have a purchase order, but of something of this nature, we wouldn't do it without Keith reviewing the purchase order.
So we'll talk to Keith.
Okay.
What I will tell him is that there's general consensus on the Board of Commissioners to move forward with this, and we'd like to do it as quickly as possible. We have every intention of going through the required requirements of county code. These are the way that we might be able to expedite it, move forward, and then validate it as part of the regular process.
That'd be very helpful.
That'd be very helpful. We'll do that. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Thank you all.